Raise a heavy generator. But yo, guess who's the black Trump?
I had to get some
Let's
real
go.
professionals for the job,
No
son.
doubt.
Numerous cats.
Word up.
Fishing
That's
niggas.
right. Word up.
This is what you call liquid liquid.
Black
Straight
Trump.
blazing through. It's what we came to do. Blazing
This is
through.
the black Trump.
Blazing through.
All right, so listen, it looks like Donald Trump is our new leader. All right, that's totally fine. Shout out to Donald Trump. I never thought I would ever say that shit. But here we are. Now, my opinion on this. The truth of the matter is, I am not surprised that Donald Trump won. And I have to say, I was rooting for Donald Trump to win. At first, of course, I was against it because I consider myself to be a left-leaning individual. I've always been liberal. And I've never necessarily been far left. That I haven't been. But, you know, there are times I've even flirted with the idea of being possibly far left. A little bit. But just at least to kind of figure it out. Be like, oh, okay. But the truth is, I've always pretty much been, I would say, liberal. I never would consider myself conservative or Republican on any stretch. But what has happened in the last year has changed me, really, in a lot of ways, because it really opened my eyes up to the dangers of the far left in a way that it's just not something I ever thought about. You know, typically we hear about fascism from the right, and that's a problem too, don't get me wrong. But we never really talk about the dangers of the far left and how snakish they can get with their sweet promises of diversity and equity and equality and all that nonsense. But deep down, they don't care about any of it. They just want power. It's just totalitarian, fascism in its own right. So I'm very shocked, and I was like, I think a lot of people who consider themselves to be left or center, and they're looking at the Democratic Party that seems to have been taken over by anti-Semites, idiots, liars, and of course, not to say that politics, doesn't have those in spades in either party. Of course they do. But the truth is, when you have a party that is afraid to actually just say flat out what's been going on with Israel and the war that Hamas and their Hitler-loving friends started, it makes me wonder and go, oh, well, if you're talking all this diversity, love thy neighbor, LGBTQ rights and all that ish, but you're here supporting, enabling Hamas terrorists who themselves don't care about this stuff openly, now I question everything that you quite seem to question. And ultimately, this idea of running on the idea that Trump is like Hitler, right? It's not really a great thing to run on. I mean, what are your policies? What are your ideas? I have an idea of what Trump wants to do, but I don't really know what the Democrats want to do. It wasn't never really clear. And again, that could have worked if there wasn't like an October 7th type of situation going on. That whole, oh, Donald Trump is Hitler type of speech could have worked. But it didn't work this time. And it doesn't work because, again, it's coming from the left and the far left, who themselves support Hamas, who are Hitler-like. I mean, there's literal Mein Kampf books found in these homes in Gaza. So you're telling me that Trump is like Hitler, but you support Hitler, the baby Hitlers that are on the present today, that are living. So that's where it gets weird. Obviously, I don't trust a word that you would ever say on that. Like, if you cannot tell the difference between right and wrong, good and evil, which is very, very blatant, very obvious in this case, who's on the side of right, who's on the side of wrong, then I can't really trust anything you've said. And I have to say, from personal experience, being here and being pro-Israel, I myself have taken a loss here and there from, black organizations. I'm not going to get into it. Maybe one day I will. But who claim to be, they're supporting the black individuals, or at least diversity, equity, inclusion, and all that kind of shit. But deep down will censor and, in fact, try to kill the careers of black folk who happen to take a stance against terrorism, which is weird, right? And then you start to ask yourself, so you really don't actually care about black people. you actually don't care about the fact that terrorists, Muslim supremacy, to be very frank and specific, you don't care that Arab Muslim supremacy has ruined Africa. And that perhaps I might have a position on that. I might know something that you don't know. No, you don't care. You want to stand with literal terrorists who don't care about black people, who murder black people with impunity, as demonstrated on October 7 and much previous, who, let's be honest here. Let's look at the Arab slave trade and how long that ran and still goes on, by the way. I think something that people don't talk about. Look up the Libyan slave trade. Anyway, so my point is this. If you're out here censoring black folk who just happen to not stand with terrorists, but you claim to be the organization that is here to support black people, then I know that deep down you don't actually care about the black community and you're here to grift just like every other DEI grifter. And of course, these are kind of the things that made me go, I think the left needs some soul searching. Again, look at the left. The left, that is, the Jews in particular, have typically supported the left. And they themselves have fled the left in record numbers, as it seems, which is unfortunate. But again, it goes to show you that there is a big problem going on with the left that just needs to be corrected. And then maybe we'll come back. But for now, I think you've gotten a dose of humble pie, and that's that. I don't trust any society that hates Jews. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't. I don't trust a group of people I don't trust anti-Semites in general, because it's a package deal. That's something that I think a lot of people don't realize, but it is a package deal. Now, I could say, okay, let me just look at it from my own selfish lens. I'm a black person. If you hate Jews, you hate blacks. History just shows this multiple times. It's a package deal. Haters of a minority tend to hate other minorities too. It doesn't just stop with the Jews. It starts with them, but it doesn't stop with them. And so that's why, obviously, I've been on the side of Israel and the Jews, partly, of course, because it's just common sense. It's the right thing to do. I mean, there's so many levels to it. But if I take all that out and I just look at it from a personal, from a position of self-interest, I'm a black male. Why would I stand with people that are against Jews when I know that people who are against Jews are against black people too? It's a fact. So anyway, I think I've said enough on this. I just wanted to make a short little video. Congrats to Trump. And I think the left definitely has quite a bit of soul searching to do. I obviously wasn't really, again, as time went on, when Kamala started to speak, she didn't really seem like the smartest candidate to me. I think her not picking Josh Shapiro was a mortal mistake, in my opinion, because at least there would have been some sort of counterbalance, or someone that looks like a VP that was firm on their position on Israel. Because again, the Israel war highlights a lot of things. It's not just about the Jews. The Israel war shows a fundamental lack of interest in facts and honesty. And that's why it's really representative of a much larger problem that is, plaguing our academic and media institutions. And that is accountability, facts, logic, and this need for identity politics to supersede the most basic of realities. So obviously, not having that sort of voice or not celebrating that voice in your party makes me look at your party suspect. So I frankly, as time went on, I said, I'm not really sure about this Kamala Harris lady. She doesn't seem that bright to me. I'm gonna be honest with you. She doesn't seem like somebody that's and I say that respectfully, not bright. I don't think she's a dummy. I don't know her. I've never met her in real life, But I'm talking about a candidate that to me is strong enough to overcome the burden of being a woman. And I say that in a sense of, we all know that it's tougher for women to be taken seriously in positions of power. That's a fact. The world is patriarchal. So I understand that that's going to be more difficult to see a woman as a leader. But I can tell you, as someone who has had female bosses, I've had some fantastic female bosses. Really, a leader is a leader. It's not by gender, right? Now, of course, again, it's a perception thing. So there does need to be a gap, especially for men. But the truth is that a leader is a leader, and Kamala never really struck me as a leader. I'm gonna be honest. Trump, I can't say that I'm a massive fan of Trump. I don't know Trump. It's not. I'm not an American, so in a way, even my opinion kind of doesn't matter. But The truth is, Trump has, he's led the country before. He gives off more of a leader vibe. And I think people saw through, a lot of that shenanigans. And again, you have you have a Democratic Party where the president was going senile and seemed to be unfit to be a ruler, and all of a sudden installed what some would see as the DEI vice president, and was like, here you go. I don't think that's going to work. Americans are smarter than that, and that's one thing I've always loved about the United States, really. At its core, you can argue and say there's a lot of things that don't work in the United States, or there's a lot of quote-unquote people who are dumb, or blah, blah. Some of the stereotypes that sometimes you hear about Americans abroad, or even within America itself. But you also have to remember that America is the land of the free, and I would argue most of the intelligent, rebellious, good-natured, well-meaning people, they live in the United States. If they don't live in the United States, they have relationships with the United States. There's a lot of them, and they see what's going on and they go, nah, we're not doing this. We're not about to let some terrorist sympathizer, clueless DEI candidate come and ruin our country. No, that's not going to happen. So anyways, congrats to Donald Trump. And if you're an American watching this, salute to you, regardless of how you voted. I appreciate you even voting, to be honest with you, because at least you put your voice out there, and that's what's important, all right? And so we hope that going forward, America will be able to lead some of its, or I should say Trump, will be able to lead the country in a way that heals some of the divide and does well by America. And hopefully that good-natured cleanup, DEI cleanup, makes its way over to Canada, because it's well overdue. We need it out here too. All right? Anyway, signing off. Peace.